The Irish elections have delivered a shock result. Support for the governing Fine Gael party has slipped, while the left-wing nationalist Sinn Fein party, which has been associated with the terrorism of the IRA, has surged. It now looks to be a three-way tie between the ruling Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Sinn Fein parties. How did this happen? And with no party receiving a majority, they will have to form a coalition government, which Sinn Fein might be part of. With Sinn Fein in government and Brexit now a sure thing, what does this mean for the prospects of Irish reunification? Alright, so I apologize in advance to any Irish people out there for butchering the pronunciation of your political parties or any other Irish words. Taoiseach, Taoiseach, Taoiseach. So the results have come out, and it looks like Sinn Fein has a slight lead. How did this happen? Now, the current Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, is from the Fine Gael party, which is centre-right, supports free markets, big business, low taxes and the European Union. While traditionally the other main party is Fianna Fáil, which is centre-right, supports free markets, big business, low taxes and the European Union. Do you see the problem? These two parties are basically the same and have dominated Irish politics for 100 years. Now, at face value, Prime Minister Leo Varadkar and his Fine Gael party have implemented a lot of successful policies. When Fine Gael came to power, the Irish economy was in ruins, and now it's one of the fastest growing economies in Europe. He handled Brexit negotiations with the UK well, and he also held 2 referendums that legalized gay marriage and abortion. And Leo Varadkar himself is Ireland's first gay Prime Minister, Ireland's youngest Prime Minister, and first mixed-race Prime Minister, with his father hailing from India. But all this economic growth hasn't reached everybody. There is a housing crisis, with rent and housing prices in Ireland having increased by 90%, which has caused a 354% increase in homelessness since 2014. And Ireland's healthcare system is massively underfunded, with long wait times and other issues. Unlike the other two parties, Sinn Féin's left-wing supports government intervention in the economy and social programs to help the poor and tackle the homelessness, housing and healthcare problems in the country. People are tired of establishment politics, and Sinn Féin is the anti-establishment alternative, promising to deal with the bread-and-butter issues facing ordinary Irish people. However, it's not Sinn Féin's economic agenda that makes it controversial. They are nationalist and aggressively support Irish reunification. They demand a referendum on Irish reunification in Northern Ireland within 5 years. In fact, they're so aggressively pro-reunification that in the past they were tied to the terrorist organization known as the IRA, the Irish Republican Army. Now, what is Irish reunification all about? Now, for those of you who don't know, let's have a quick history lesson. So, Ireland used to be a British colony for hundreds of years, and the British introduced all sorts of oppressive laws that the Irish people didn't like, which obviously led to a number of uprisings, which were brutally crushed. On top of that, many British settlers came to settle in Ireland, mainly in the northeastern part of Ireland. And these British settlers were mostly Protestant, while most of the indigenous Irish people were Catholic. So when Ireland finally gained independence in 1922, the northeastern part of Ireland, Northern Ireland, which was majority Protestant, unlike the rest of Ireland which was Catholic, remained as part of Britain. But the Irish Catholic minority in Northern Ireland, as well as most people in Ireland proper, wanted Northern Ireland to unify with the rest of Ireland. On top of that, the Protestant majority in Northern Ireland discriminated against the Irish Catholic minority, and this resulted in mass protests and violence that broke out in 1969, known as the Troubles. And this violence between Irish Catholics who wanted to join Ireland and Protestants who wanted to stay with Britain continued until 1998. Basically, it was a low-level civil war, and one of the players was a party called Sinn Fein. Sinn Fein was a political party in both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland which wanted reunification, and they were willing to support the IRA, which was using violent means to achieve reunification. Now in 1998, a peace treaty, the Good Friday Agreement, was signed, and the IRA laid down its weapons, and Sinn Fein agreed that it would now only use democratic means, not violence, to achieve Irish reunification. But many people in the Republic of Ireland, especially the older generation, still remember the violence of the IRA and are very reluctant to vote for Sinn Fein. But younger people grew up with a new Sinn Fein, one committed to left-wing economic policies and peaceful reunification of Ireland. On top of that, they have a new leader, Lou MacDonald, who, unlike the previous leader, Gerry Adams, has no links whatsoever to the violence of the IRA. This, combined with the failure of the other two parties, has led Sinn Fein to surge from just 13.8% in the last election to 24.5% in this election, with no party having a majority. They will have to form a coalition government which might include Sinn Fein. But the other two parties have ruled out working with Sinn Fein because of its violent past. Nevertheless, they might have to concede and cooperate with Sinn Fein, and at the very least, Sinn Fein will have more influence in Parliament. Now, as I mentioned before, Sinn Fein has demanded that there be a referendum on Irish reunification in Northern Ireland within 5 years. So what does this mean for Irish reunification? The Good Friday Agreement states that the people in Northern Ireland can have both British and Irish passports, that there will be no hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and, in order for there to be Irish reunification, a majority in both the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland must support reunification in a democratic referendum. Now, traditionally, the Protestants in Northern Ireland were against reunification and wanted to stay in the United Kingdom, while the Catholics supported reunification. Now, 100 years ago, Protestants were a 2/3 majority in Northern Ireland. But today, it's 50-50 between Protestants and Catholics. And a new poll came out showing 51% of Northern Irish people in favour of reunification. Another poll showed 65% of people in the Republic of Ireland in favour of reunification. And now that Sinn Fein has won many votes in elections in both the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland, the prospect of a referendum on Irish reunification is increasingly likely. If it passes, Ireland will be reunited again. And Brexit makes this much more likely. You see, before Brexit, both the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland were in the European Union. And because they were in the European Union, there was no hard border between Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland. This meant that Irish Catholics in Northern Ireland who felt that they were Irish could easily travel between the two Irelands. But now that the UK is leaving the EU, there has to be a hard border again. This could lead to outbreaks of violence. Now, in order to prevent this, the British negotiated for Northern Ireland to remain part of the customs union of the European Union, while the rest of Britain isn't. This essentially creates a border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, making Northern Ireland a kind of separate entity from the rest of the United Kingdom, which makes it more likely to want to join the Republic of Ireland instead. But there are obstacles to reunification. The same poll that showed 51% of Northern Irish in favour of reunification also showed that 95% of Protestant Unionists do not want reunification. If Northern Ireland is unified with the Republic of Ireland without accommodating these people, you could have another civil war, but in reverse. This time with Protestants as a minority in Ireland trying to rejoin the UK. On top of that, even though there have been 22 years of peace, tensions and divisions between Protestants and Catholics remain high. There is literal physical segregation, with walls separating Protestant areas from Catholic ones in some parts of Northern Ireland. These divisions will have to be overcome if there is to be peaceful reunification. Thus, the combination of Sinn Féin's electoral victories, the impact of Brexit, and increasing support for reunification on both sides of the border means that Irish reunification is likely to happen within our lifetime. Tell me what you think, guys. Like, share, and subscribe, because this was my take.